the ensemble of feelings and questions we have to do with the meaning and the purpose of our life. These questions aren't easy to find answers to, and this can leave us feeling stuck. Hi, I am Nompumelelo Lerato Ndlovu. That's right, don't forget the name. You can forget the face, but don't forget the name. Actually, just don't forget me, okay? Remember me. I wear many hats, but today I am wearing and flaunting the hat of visual artist, and this is the story of existential crisis, or, well, my existential crisis at least. So when I created Existential Crisis, I was obviously going through just a tough time in my life. Just kind of feeling like I was being pulled 1,000 different directions. And I think even though existential crisis comes from a time of basically crying out for like, not help necessarily, but just wanting to find a sense of direction, there still is a lot of beauty in it. And I don't mean just like the picture itself, but I mean the underlying meaning of it all. I remember when I completed this piece, I don't want to say I was in a dark place, but I was definitely coming out of a dark place. You know, I think everybody has their own definition and their own version of a dark place. And I definitely experienced that. It was the end of 2019. I just dropped out of graphic design. And, you know, it was shitty. It's never a good feeling to feel like you failed at something, especially something that you thought you wanted so bad and something that you thought you'd be so good at. And I remember the first couple of days of 2020, I went back to my varsity and I asked my lecturers for advice. One lecturer in particular had kind of told me, you know, you're excellent, you're really great, and you know, it's rare to find young black females who are thriving in this industry. And like the other lecturers would tell me as well, like, no, you're actually really great, you just gotta, you know, put some fire under that ass and just hurry it up. But for me, I just couldn't imagine putting in less hours than I'm used to into something that I'm creating and that I want to be beautiful. You know, I'm that kind of person, if I'm gonna put something out, I'm gonna put it out and that's that. I don't want to make a change to it. I don't want you to tell me that, you know, it's this and that. I don't really care for an opinion, really, when it comes to my art. You know, it is what it is because that's what I want it to be, you know. But graphic design just wasn't like that. You know, it was just like, these are the guidelines, this is the pace that you gotta work at, and if you can't work at this pace, you're done. And I was done. I was done because I couldn't keep up with the pace, you know. And for me, I think the lines between like not being able to keep up with the pace and actually not being good at something were kind of blurred for me. You know, not being good at the arts, they were blurred for me. I knew in my mind that I'm good at this, I'm excellent at this, this is something I've always been doing. You know, I hype myself up like that, I believe in myself like that. I tell myself, you are good, you're amazing, you're great. But why aren't you able to keep up right now? Why aren't you showing them your greatness? You know, I spend an hour on something that I usually spend 4 hours on, and it's just not, it's not my best. It's not something that I'm proud of, you know. I spend 4 hours on something that they'd like us to spend an hour on, and it's amazing, it's great, it's all of these things, and they're telling me this, but they're telling me that just, it doesn't cut it, you know. It doesn't help that, you know, you're going to make these amazing things, but you're not going to be able to submit them on time. You're not going to be able to show them because you've missed your deadline, you know. So that was really stressful for me. He told me that I was going through an existential crisis, and I think at that time I didn't really understand what that meant, and I couldn't even put into words why, you know, at that time things wouldn't work out the way that I had hoped they would. You know, nobody ever wants to disappoint their family, and you know, it was a tricky time, but the only way that I could express the way that I was feeling was through my art. And everything that I imagined, I kind of sort of had to put on paper, and because I couldn't express why I felt that way, because I couldn't express why I couldn't see it through, I just kind of had to paint, and I had to draw, and I had to just do whatever I could to kind of, you know, serve as an outlet. And I think art definitely does that for me. This came from a time when I really genuinely didn't know what my purpose was. Or maybe it's not that I didn't know. I think it had more to do with the fact that I didn't accept it. I didn't believe that things that come naturally to you and things that you enjoy are the things that that you're supposed to do in life, right? These are not things that you're supposed to be making a living of. But then I landed into an industry where it's just like, if you enjoy something and you're good at it, you should definitely do that for the rest of your life, or for as long as you can, and definitely capitalize on that, you know? But there was a bit of a cognitive dissonance for me between, like, you know, just knowing that and just like understanding that, you know, something just wasn't connecting for me, and it really sent me it sent me spinning. It really sent me spinning. I feel like I touched so much on the fact that, you know, it was about a time of turmoil and confusion, but I kind of forgot to touch on the fact that I genuinely found beauty in that. And the reason why she has like a whole galaxy in the solar system basically coming out of her mouth is because I really believe that with your mouth you're able to speak, and I don't even want to say manifest because I feel like I don't understand that fully yet, but you're able to really speak your own reality into existence, and there are all these beautiful and amazing things that come from you, you know, or you basically have the power to create beautiful things, and there's all this beauty that basically lies inside each and every one of us. And I think I wanted to show that. I was like, even though, you know, we often feel so small and insignificant, we really have the whole galaxy inside of us. We have all these possibilities. We have all this wonder inside of us. And yeah, that's basically what Existential Crisis ultimately became about. So these are the words I wrote after I was done with the piece. Here. This piece represents a time when I had no direction in life, but felt as though I was being pulled 10,000 different ways all at once. I often found myself jaded and questioning my very existence and purpose. It's unfortunate that life doesn't come with a how-to manual. We're just thrust into this world and at some points left to fend for ourselves. This realization kept me in fear of the unknown, eventually leaving me in a state of mental paralysis where I could barely think, let alone create. Once I started to realize that these constraints existed only in my mind, I could visually describe the prison my mind was trapped in, and eventually found beauty in the chaos. I was able to drown out all the noise in my head, and all that mattered was the oxygen I could feel moving through my lungs. All that mattered was being present in that moment. In the end, I suppose life would be less beautiful if it were predictable. I'm slowly learning to let go of the fears and embrace chaos. I don't have structure, and my art often consumes me, but I guess that's just a little note from the world's biggest overthinker. And that's what this piece represents. It's overthinking and just feeling like maybe you're supposed to be a lot of different things, and you mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of find what your purpose in your journey is. And I don't know, it's just something that I went through, and I thought once I was done with this piece, you know, I had put my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, everything into this piece. I thought, yeah, well, I'm over it now. I'm over the existential crisis. I can move forward, but I still hadn't found purpose. And that's because as much as I was looking for it, as much as I was asking people what they thought my purpose was, I wasn't actively pursuing it. You know, I wasn't actually actively pursuing it. I was very much thinking about it all the time. It was very much frontal lobe all the time, but I wasn't actively pursuing it. And so even when I went to take on a different degree, I still felt a little bit lost. Still felt a little bit lost, but still navigating through it and still trying to keep, true to myself. But I think that's why now, 3 years later, I can actually sit down and I can exhale. I can actually say, you know what, I actually do have direction in life now. I know what my purpose is. If not for the rest of my life, then at least for the next couple of months, the next year, the next couple of years, I'm satisfied with what I've got going on right now. And I'm satisfied with how much I'm now pushing myself towards the things that I desire and the things that I see for myself. I am a very visual person. I imagine things and I think of things before I can even, make sense of them first. I have to see it visually before I can really make sense of it. And I think that's the place I'm at right now, where it's just like I can really imagine things and I can make them to be tangible. I can make them come to fruition. And when I finally sat down and kind of assessed the thoughts, I could kind of, pave my way to where I'm at right now. And I'm happy that I've made the choices that I've made. And, I'm really excited about the future. I hope that you've enjoyed this short little film about existential crisis. And if you happen to find yourself going through an existential crisis, I think what I'd really like you to know and remember is that there's so much power in confusion, and there's so much power in not knowing. I don't think as human beings we're meant to know every single thing anyways, but we're definitely meant to be here to experience any and everything, really. Well, maybe not everything. Some things you really don't need to experience, but we're meant to really experience all the good that the world has to offer. And you could choose to really look at the world in one way, or you could look at it in the other. And I'm choosing to look at it as a world full of possibilities, as a world that, in spite of the experiences, has not broken me. I'm here now, and I'm definitely doing much better than I was a couple of months ago, a year ago, a couple of years ago, and it's just, I think existential crisis is a reminder that, I think life-altering moments can come from the most groundbreaking and, just scary, terrifying experiences. But a lot of beauty can come from it if you choose to take it as a lesson rather than punishment, or rather than being crippled by your fears and by, just the experiences. So yeah, hope I haven't rambled too much, but this has been Existential Crisis.